Okay, I'm back. Just wanted to get reset up before I started with this. Now, this, I'm a very science-based person, and I always look at evidence and everything like that. And someday I'm going to play it, because there's a gentleman here that lives here, one of the only who's a gentleman, who watches these tarot readers. And there's Marie's table. And actually, it was incredible. I was walking out, and it was in the living room. And I'll look for it sometime, because she was doing a general overview of the swamp in Washington. This is a couple months ago, I think. And it was just, the lobbyist. And, and I even, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I have the air conditioning on. I turned it on while I was resetting up. But she talks about, the lobbyist, and I mean, she even admits it's incredible. These women, you'll see this one, they see what's on the news or something like that. I mean, even I am not in the loop on lots and lots and lots of stuff, because I'm not. In Bogota, for example, sure, I was going to the dinner parties and the cocktail parties, and I'd listen. My favorite was always, oh, well, it's immoral, but it's not illegal. You guys justify anything under the frickin' sun with that one. And, one of the things, if they want to clean up and they want to attack the problems in Europe, there are many, but the first thing is the culture of corruption, and it traditionally, has been in Southern Europe, and the farther north you get, the more honest and transparent they are. And that has a lot to do with their history and their geographical location. It has nothing to do with color of skin or races or anything like that. All of this stuff is geographical location and one's history. Obviously, if you're invaded all of the time, you're going to everybody goes through raping and pillaging every single generation, that you're going to have a more violent society. I mean, it's not rocket science. But anyway, so it's amazing what these women are reading, and it's a lot better than watching the news. I've gotten to the point where I watch the headlines as I walk through, and I go for my walk every day, or I go downstairs to the kitchen. But I think I'm like a lot of people, like just finish your self-destruction. I mean, that's all I'm waiting for. I know how to save this Titanic. I know how to pull it up out of the water and turn it around, while they're going to be thrown into the icy waters in the process. But, as I said to Jacob Holdrum, give me a voice and let's go to the courts, and I'll clean it all up. And believe me, I'll do it. As anybody who knows me, I will never, ever, ever promise to do something that I can't or won't do. So anyway, this is really funny, because she's reading and she comes across, this is Epstein stuff. I believe it's on bars involved, apparently, like really bad with Epstein, and it sounds like a soap opera. And so anyway, now Prince Andrew's coming up. Now this, I have a whole bunch of vlogs that I was doing. I started in November after the BBC interview with Prince Andrew about the Epstein case. And quite frankly, I have a very different take, I would say, than most everybody out there, because I know for a fact as the Fathers' Rights initiatives say, and not to be confused with the pedophile rights people. And they're winning the game, as are the murderer and the rapist. That the domestic violence industry is just a money-making industry. I mean, if the feminist, because of course the alpha dominance feminists don't like me at all. I mean, anything that has to do with defending or promoting the rights of women and children in the home or family or community, they're too busy being important and grappling up the ladder of success and going to important meetings and schmoozing and cruising with all of the other important people in their ivory towers. And this is, we got to get women the glass ceiling, get them into positions of power, get them into positions of power. See, this is where Hillary Clinton, didn't win by a landslide. Because there are a lot of women, and why she didn't get more of the women's vote, because there are a lot of women out there that are sick and tired of the alpha dominance feminists. I mean, when they tell me these women's rights NGOs, I say they're not women's rights. They're feminist rights, because they're not fighting for women's rights. Otherwise, I have a whole slew of lawyers submitting. Women's Link Worldwide. I mean, I challenge and there is no loopholes, no gaps or anything like that. I challenge the defense of the Spanish government on the Gonzalez Carreño versus Spain 2014 CEDAW case. Now, it's like a fighter. Ask any fighter out there. What do? Punch him once? No, you punch him, then you punch him, and then you punch him, and then you punch him. I mean, until they're on the floor and can't get up anymore. I mean, that's how you fight, you ladies? I mean, my lord, this is why it's just window dressing, and Carrie Bettinger Lopez with the Gonzalez Linehan 2014 Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, same deal. And then they go to cocktail parties. I mean, you should Google that stuff, and you go to the universities, the amicus briefs, the social media article about how wonderful and rah, 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 rah. Should be ashamed of themselves rather than giving awards. So that's why, of course, the alpha dominant feminists don't like me, because I'm going to stop all of these women who just look out there. I mean, God, they're worse than the men. We've got greedy, and of course, because they got to get their nails done and then get their hair done and then spend money. I mean, the only thing that I say, we'll go to Nordstrom's Iraq or Marshall's or any of these outlets, and don't tell me that our markets are being absolutely flooded with clothing and merchandise, whereas other markets, you can't get anything decent. When I lived in Bogota, we had to travel to Florida. Most of of course, they were going on vacation. These people would go, but while they were there, they'd go with almost empty suitcases and go to the outlets and buy the clothes that they needed, for the year. Of course, kids are growing up, so that constantly changes, because you couldn't get anything decent. Yet, a lot of those clothes were made in Medellin. Ralph Lauren's there, Levi's is there, but the thing is they can't, with the trade agreements, they can't, there's a restriction on that they can't sell that stuff within their own country. So there's a lot of, everybody's right and everybody's wrong. Because you hear Trump always going on about China and China and China, and a lot of what he says, he is right. But then it's like with Rush Limbaugh. I guess this is the best example. This was just when because I was still living up at the Armory then. and I only lived there for a month. So this was at the very beginning in 2009 when I came, and I was walking home, and there was a secondhand bookstore. And I go in, and there's Rush Limbaugh, The Way Things Ought to Be, or The Way Things Should Be. And I start, and I'm going, oh Lord. So I buy the book, and I still have it. I mean, I laughed at the time. But I at the time I said, oh my God, I want to write a book in response to everything he's written here. Because just like all of the extremists, whether they're on the right or the left, they take a grain of truth, they plant it into a seed. Kind of like Jack and the Beanstalk type of thing. That at the end, you're like, what's going on here? That's why when you're dealing with narcissists and pathological liars, which are usually one and the same, psychopaths, they all overlap. But the pathological liars, and this is a problem in the court with women lie, and why they're not believing the little girls who have been raped, because yes, women do lie more than men. The social climbing ones, the petty catty ones. There are women who are, more, how should I say it, more masculine, that don't get into all of that don't want to get into all of that. Those are the women who need to be empowered, and they're not. It's the social climbing ones that'll sleep with their boss, or we'll see Paris Hilton later on, who are into this game. Ivanka Trump is the same. Cornelia Guest with the decade she was the first, and this is where it does get into the ruling elite, the socialites, and their influence on society, and the trickle down, and the sustainable development goals, SDGs. If you have a predatory, hedonistic, narcissistic, psychopathic society that's producing opioid epidemics, obesity epidemics, mental health problems are off the charts. We're the worst in now with the COVID, and everybody's crying and moaning. It's like, can you imagine after Pearl Harbor? Oh no, wait a second. Just let them. Don't worry about those guys. Don't worry about those guys. They'll just go away by themselves. Keep on partying. That's the reaction. And why is everybody getting away with it? Because the ruling elite women in Washington and in the United States, the international now, they make a big, huge workforce here with all the NGOs and think tanks and IMF and World Bank. And they're not producing anything except cacophony and chaos. So, anyway, this gets me into with this tarot stuff. So, she's going to talk about Prince Andrew. And then I'll show you Prince Andrew's BBC interview.
Here he is. Andrew has shown up right next to 45 on Epstein's in bars line, but it looks like theft, marriage card, and court, and unpleasant letter with Epstein, which unexpected money, which that means it feels like Andrew may not, I think he probably indulged himself. It's a very delicate situation, but I think he was more invested. Like he was somehow making money off of this. That doesn't make any sense, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's the feeling about it. 45 too, he was making money. There's somehow all of these were investors. They were making money off of Epstein somehow. Ooh, I just felt a huge wave of how Epstein gathered them all in for their money and then made them money somehow. And being that these guys were on the same line as Epstein, they were the bigger players than 45 and Maxwell. She's right next to Epstein. Wow. Okay. So let me see if I can go up. Let's see. Andrew's here. Journey. False person. And what is this one? Good lady, which is upside down. Short illness. Is 45 going to get sick? Short illness, long ways away, and unexpected money.
Okay, I think they're always talking about, I mean, everybody's always saying that Trump is ill, which, I mean, there's a good possibility. So anyway, but how they were making money, and she's like, that doesn't make sense, and however, if you look at how the capital venture money that's being distributed, and this gets in, there's the sustainable development goals, there's all sorts of millions and trillions and money allocated for different projects for this, and this is where the bulk of the capital venture money and for entrepreneurs is going, and it's amongst a very small restricted group of people with the IMF. I mean, I did in 2016, I remember when I came across, I think it was the SDGs, and they were going to be distributed with the help of Mike Milken Institute, I believe. I think that's how I came across Mike Milken. But I was like, you have got to be, oh gosh, what did I do there? You have got to be kidding me. You have got to be kidding me that Mike Milken is still in the game. I mean, you have to understand, I mean, I left at the end of the 80s, and even Mike Milken with the junk bonds, this was at the end of the 70s, had already been in and out and gotten his hand caught with his hand in the cookie jar. And I remember I had read a book about, the whole junk bond pyramid scheme. And, I mean, the man was brilliant, and he is brilliant. However, I mean, I know, I was watching Bloomberg, he was saying that one of the really few intelligent people he had ever met was Kissinger. I'm like, well, yeah, I know there's a lot of intelligent people out there who have been involved in shady stuff. I mean, the worst, I think, with Kissinger is the bombing of Cambodia. But I'm sure that's just scratching the surface. So anyway, yeah, great, if you're really intelligent, that's wonderful, but if you're using it to do bad, that's nothing to write home about. So, the whole thing about intelligent people. But, so, Mike Milken was involved in that, so he was going to be working with the World Bank, the IFC. There's him, and I forget, the title I gave it was the Penn Quarter Avenue, or the Penn Avenue Quartet Mafia, something like that. Because it was four of them. There was the IMF, IFC, Mike Milken Institute, and I don't know, I guess GW I would have put in there with their entrepreneurial department. But this gets into all everything that I've been doing, whether it be my activism work against the courts. I mean, this is where people can't follow and get confused, because yes, I'm challenging the courts in Spain, but then I've also been trying to get my global expats project up, for which I need, 100 million, like all the other guys. Yeah, you get it in several rounds, but still, they pass those things out like that. If your name is Bezos, or if you've been in that, restricted group of people. As I say, now it's not restricted to the WASPs, but it's still restricted because they're all incompetent. We have 70 to 9% incompetent rates amongst the professionals, and believe me, I know a lot of these people. I mean, my ex-husband, who's a great currency trader and banker, if he really thought about it, well, we would have the money. I mean, my God, if he had just, picked up the phone, we could have gotten the investment. Because it's a great idea. But since I'm a stupid woman, nobody takes the time to actually look at these things. When I started on all of this and I went through the Women's Business Center, Golden Seeds, all of these, that's how I know this is, what the BS it is there. Because it's the same thing with Golden Seeds. If you're part of that little group of women in Silicon Valley, or who has been in the game and the workforce but for the past 20, 30 years, you can get the funding. But they're producing crap. I mean, crap after crap after crap. We'll see with Paris Hilton and Cornelia. I'm so sick and tired. I mean, believe me, when I lived in Bogota, my mornings I would go to a jewelry school. And this isn't anything again, but I have a lot of things, made in gold, and I would, what do you call it, fundir. Everything I did that was in Spanish. So, but melt down the gold and pull it through the machines, and lost wax. I mean, the only thing that I really don't do is the putting in the setting, because that's delicate. I mean, you practice with the zirconian and stuff like that, but I'm still at the point of practicing with that, because that is difficult. There's a whole bunch of different specialties. For example, lost wax. I can do some stuff, but not. Wow, that's some of the things that they do is amazing. Anyway, and I used I looked into they have hand loomed material that they do. The most famous is Olga Amaral, and she does some absolutely gorgeous artwork there. I loved these are pre-Columbian. This is they call it fantasia, costume jewelry. So, as I said, people would say, where do I go for this? All of the artisans I knew. And that's another thing that upsets me with the road that all of these socialites are going down. They all have their, their line of purses. I did some designs for purses as well, with crocodile. See, I don't have a problem, for example, with the crocodile. They produce that in Colombia. And there was a woman I know who used to have them made and then sell them amongst the expats. And there was one fabrica, a real factory that was set up to export, and they had all of the license, because a lot of these guys just do it out of their homes, and particularly for the expats, if you want to have a purse done or something, but not any kind of exportation and doing a business. And this was really the only one that I visited. But you did have the whole process of what do you call it, tanning, curing, or whatever, the whole process that you have to go through to prepare the skin. was very detrimental to the environment. So that I got an issue with. I'm like, if you can clean up all your products and everything like that, that's fine, because as long as the meat, the crocodile meat, yes, it's being eaten, yeah. And you can even get crocodile meat in I don't know, restaurants, but and not every single grocery store, not your local grocery store, but you do, and people do eat crocodile meat. So as long as we're not, can you imagine if the entire planet went vegan? I know we are part of the food chain. And where the problem comes, and of course this gets into extremism, where the problem comes, even a Dale Davis, who is my Bible and always has been in terms of eating and health, she says a vegan and vegetarian life, I always confuse this. Oh my God, they have so many different stuff. I'm like, my God, you people, just eat a balanced meal. And we do need meat. Sometimes I'll feel a bit anemic, and I go and I buy some red meat. I usually have a hamburger, because that's what my body is calling for. And Cornelia says that she never ate a lot of meat. Well, I never did either. But still, the whole thing, if we're eating the meat, well, where'd the hides go? We should be using, this was one of the things that the American Indians were horrified about, and rightfully so, how their buffalo, they would come and just take the skins and leave the animals out there to rot. Yes, the Indians hunted the buffalo, and there was a whole, tradition and dances and culture around that, but they ate the entire animal, just like the Eskimos or any place else. So it's all about balance. But anyway, now I'm going to go back to, see, this gets in, as I say, the SDGs, the trickle down, and the ruling elite, and what everybody's spending their money on in terms of business building and entrepreneurs. So here's Prince Andrew responding to why he went, because he went back, I guess, to New York City after Epstein was already in trouble, and he was in Central Park, and there was a photo taken there. And so why did he go and see Epstein? He says, look, within the circle of people, you don't do this over the phone. You go and do it face to face. And I agree with him. That's the way I am. If I got something really, particularly, look, we were friends before, and because of what you've been involved in, I can't have anything else to do with you. That's not something you do over the phone. And I don't care, who it is. You find out the guy's a mass murderer and he's waiting on death row. I guess the protocol might be a little different. But the thing is, with the whole Epstein stuff, and this is where I was writing the blog for Prince Andrew, and I guess I got backtracked on that thing, was that the feminists, they just want to make money. So, like, I saw Aldred, what's her name? Gloria Aldred was involved in all of that. When I was watching the interviews of Virginia Giuffre, and there was another young girl, their stories don't make sense. And the problem, I believe these girls, yes, they were sexually abused as young children. So this gets into, why is it that we got so many 15, 16, 17-year-olds out there, looking for sex, trying to be older than they are. And that goes on always with adolescents. Always. And one of the reasons for that is that we don't allow our children to grow, to have confidence in themselves, and you have confidence in them. There was a CIA woman about lying, and she said, oh, my 16-year-old, all I have to do to know if he's lying is whether his mouth is moving. I mean, with a mother like that, of course you're going to lie all the time. Oh my God. I mean, my kids, tell me the truth. And really, kids they want guidance. They want some parameters. They want to know that their parents care or the people around them care. And if your parameters and your rules are there for their safety and well-being, instead of controlling them of where they are, what they're doing, I mean, you can't breathe. I grew up like that. And it's this 1930s mentality we'll see with Nancy Reagan. It's that whole, shut up and do this and do that and just control freak on top of you every single freaking moment, and every time you turn around, somebody's screaming at you. I mean, of course, kids, then they're like, get me out of here. And too many kids grow up like that. It doesn't matter. I mean, poor people or rich people. So, listen to this response.
You're absolutely sure, or you can't remember?
Absolutely sure.
So John Brockman's statement is false.
Well, I don't know Mr. Brockman, so I don't know what he's talking about.
But that definitely wasn't you getting a foot massage from a Russian girl in Jeffrey Epstein's house.
No.
It might seem a funny way to break off a friendship, a 4-day house party of sorts with a dinner. It's an odd way to break up a friendship.
It's a difficult way of putting it. That's a very stark way of putting it. Yes, you're absolutely right. But actually, the truth of it is that I actually only saw him for about the dinner party, the walk in the park, and probably passing in the passage.
So let's go to that Central Park walk, which was snapped. Friends of yours suggest that Epstein wanted that photo taken. Perhaps he'd even set it up. Do you worry that you were being played?
He probably did.
Again, new information's coming out since his suicide has made us reappraise that walk in the park. We can't find any evidence, or my staff and my people and I can't find any evidence to suggest that that was what he was doing. I mean, you can look at it in so many different ways. The fact of the matter is that somebody very cleverly took that photograph. It wasn't, as far as I remember, nor